Good evening. Tonight I'd like to give you a scenario as we start, something for you to picture. I want you to have a picture in your mind before we even get to the verses or anything else. Imagine you're in a bookstore of your choice, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, take your pick. You're walking around. You're looking for whatever book you want. Choose that for yourself. But you happen to walk past a certain section. You've never really seen it before. A section filled with atheistic books claiming to disprove God. What's your first reaction? And I'm sure many of you, myself included, probably want to turn around and walk the other way. Sort of get a little bit uncomfortable. Just like if you're scrolling through Facebook and you see an article saying, we finally disproved the existence of a God. Well, I want to scroll and get as far away from that as possible. Tonight, for just a few minutes, I want to talk to you about why we shouldn't have those fears, why those fears are irrational in our Christian lives, why we shouldn't be afraid of the opposition, but rather accept it. 2 Timothy 3:14 says, "But as for you, continue in what you have learned and have firmly believed, knowing from whom you learned it." That's our first point tonight. We need to be so firmly grounded in our faith that no small passing wind of opposition, the God delusion, any book, any article you read, it's not going to sway you from your faith. You have to be firmly grounded, firmly believe it. Read that verse one more time. "But as for you, continue in what you have learned, and I firmly believe, knowing from whom you learned it." You have to trust the person that taught you the Bible, trust their expertise, and know that looking around, you firmly believe, and no small thing, no small disproof of God is going to change your mind. I'd like to ask you a rhetorical question. If you're too afraid or too worried about hearing evidences for the opposite of what you believe, can you really say that your faith is strong enough? Can you really say that if I've never looked at this other part, this other option, that I truly believe what I have right in front of me? Now, this may seem like a trivial thing. I don't need to look at the other side. I know that God is real. I'm going to go with that. But I personally think this is imperative to our Christian walks. In Hebrews 4:16, it says, "Let us then with confidence draw near to the throne of grace, that we may receive mercy and find grace to help us in our time of need." Many times throughout the New Testament, this is just one example, it says we need to approach the throne of grace with confidence. We need to have confidence in our faith. And you can't have confidence if you don't even know what else there is. Think of it this way. You're going to purchase a new car. You decide you want to buy a Toyota Camry. And you go bragging to all your friends, "I have the best car in this class." And they ask, "Well, have you ever looked at the Honda Accord?" You say, "No, I decided not to look at that. I just didn't want to be disappointed if it was better than mine." You never even thought to look at it, but still you're claiming that yours is the best. You have to look at the entire picture before you can be confident, be sure that you have what is correct. And thirdly, what benefits present themselves when you do this? It all sounds great. Sure, we need to be looking at all sides, but what's it going to do for me? Hebrews 11:1, and this is a really powerful verse. I ask that you'll actually open up your own Bibles to it, and we'll read it together. Give you a few moments to get there. Hebrews 11:1. What benefits are going to present themselves when we overcome this fear? Take the step. Hebrews 11:1. "Now faith is the assurance of things hoped for, and the conviction of things not seen." The assurance of things hoped for. Read you a definition of assurance. It says, a positive declaration intended to give confidence, a promise. Can you say that you have an assurance of the things that you hope for? We need that assurance to have a strong faith. That is what is going to set our faith over the edge. If you can't look at the other side out of fear, how can you have the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen? Christ calls us to have a conviction to spread God's word. And that's the second thing it's going to give you. It will give you a better base to spread God's word. Now, all of us struggle with evangelism, some more than others, but we all have a slight fear in the back of our mind of talking to someone about the Bible. A lot of us, that comes from, well, what if they ask me a question I don't know? Or what if I don't understand something they're talking about? That's a real concern, but a concern that becomes a lot less important to the conversation if you're well-versed all around. Sure, they could ask you a question about a fossil layer that you don't understand or something extremely complex, but if you have overcome your fear and you are actually looking around, you're seeing, my faith is strong. I can look at this and not be swayed. You'll be much more qualified to tell them, I'll get back to you on that. or you might even have the answer to the question. You just need to overcome that fear of always running away from the opposition. This fear has to be removed from our lives. As I said before, I think it's imperative because we need a strong faith. We need the assurance of things hoped for and the conviction of things not seen. I challenge every one of you individually, not just as a church, but in our own individual lives. Don't shy away from things that disagree with you, especially things disagreeing with our church, whether it's a different denomination or the existence of God at all. Instead, embrace them. Go learn about them. Strengthen your faith. Know that there's nothing that can take you away from your faith. Understand that God's word will stand for anything, and so should you, and so should your faith. So I encourage you tonight, remember Hebrews 11:1 especially. Faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. Tonight, if you need the prayers of the church, or if you have questions, if you want to know more about anything we do, or if you'd like to take Christ on in baptism and start your own walk with him, please come forward as we stand and as we sing.